get on with it. Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, which is called Hometown Chess Hero. No idea why it's called Hometown Chess Hero. But I've lucky today to be joined by Hooman. How do you pronounce your surname? Hooman?
I just use Honarvar, so just let's go with that.
And where
Honarvar. Yeah.
where where is your family from originally?
I'm an international student from Iran.
Oh, from Iran, right. So
Yes.
obviously, so you live in Iran.
Well, I used to 7 years ago, and then I moved over here.
What about your family? Are they still based in Iran or?
They are, yes. They're both. My parents are in Iran, and yeah, most of my family. I have some family over here, but most of.
So obviously there's been a few issues
Yes.
within Iran and the Middle East in general recently, so that's quite sad. But it's
Yes,
it's
it's
nice
been a
that
stressful
yeah,
time.
so yeah, stressful, of course, stressful for everyone because you always got this threat of nuclear war, right? So we're all trying to play pointless chess tournaments, and then there's this fear of nuclear war happening at any moment, rendering our lives even more pointless. But anyway, I've introduced you today because we want to chat about this tournament that you've got coming up in Brighton, which I believe is in Sussex. Is it in West Brighton? Is it West Sussex or East Sussex?
I think Brighton is in East Sussex technically. So,
Right. Okay, that's brilliant. And when is that taking place, Who man?
so it's this is the third tournament that we are running. We round one in October and one in January, and this third one will have three sort of sections or three parts to the event. So it starts with the professional side of things. So we are running the IM norm tournament, which we are very lucky to have you for that. And then we also have the competitive side, which is the Congress, so the Open Congress, and then we have the summer school in association with Sussex Junior Chess. In terms of dates, the whole event starts from 27th of August and will be closing on 31st. So exciting days of chess in Brighton.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've actually got some family links with Brighton because
Yeah,
my dad grew up in Hove. So my dad side of family is from Ireland. Both his grandparents were from Ireland.
sure.
But they actually, I believe they met in England, even though, so they didn't know each other before. They
All
met in
right.
England, and my dad was brought up in Hove. So I've got some family links with that area. Obviously, I've played the British Championships in Hove in 1997. It's probably before you were even born, right? So
It
break
was
seem to be breaking up in the video, but
I can still hear you. Yeah, I think you're fine.
yeah, it might be an internet connection issue. I'm not
Yeah,
sure. Either on my end or it could be possibly.
it might be on my end too. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
no worries, no worries. Well, thanks anyway for. Yeah, yeah. So I presume 1997. Well, when were you born, who man? What year were you born?
I was born in 2002, January
So
2002.
okay, you wouldn't have been even
No,
born by the time that British
no.
Championships. Yeah, so I've been playing chess either ever since the 1990s and maybe even earlier.
Wow.
And I believe that 1997 British Championships was won in a playoff by Matthew Sadler and Michael Adams. It's one of rare occasions where they tied for first. And there
Okay.
was basically four people, I believe, in a playoff. I think Aaron Summerscale might have been one. I think John Ems was another one.
Yes.
Or it might have been, I think Tony Miles possibly was involved. I'm not sure. But what actually happened is they knocked out Sadler and Adams started well, and they knocked out the other players, and they decided they don't want to play the playoff anymore. So they split it. It's a little bit like it's similar to that recent World Blitz Championships where
All right.
Magnus
What did you think
Carlsen.
of that?
Well, the problem is it's like player power, right? So
Yeah.
Carlsen is so powerful. He wears jeans, he breaks the dress code, he gets kicked out of the dress code for the dress code, breaking dress code. But because he's Magnus Carlsen,
Yeah.
you always say there's somebody who's not bigger than the sport. Well, actually, Magnus, he might not be bigger than chess, but he's probably bigger than FIDE, or he's not somebody that they want to like offend because such a huge name,
Mhm.
probably bigger than all the other names put together, that they can't afford to alienate him. So therefore, if he says, "Look, we've been playing for hours, we're sick of this," I often think, Hooman. I mean, the problem with tournaments now, and one of the issues that I've noticed as a professional player, as somebody who plays a lot of tournaments, I don't even know if you can call yourself a professional player these days because you make so little money from playing chess.
Absolutely. Yes.
Uh, One of the issues that I've noticed over the last few years is that most tournaments are 2 games a day.
Hmm.
Which obviously is partly because the organisers want to save money, which is understandable because obviously budgets are limited. There's not a lot of money in chess, but it's a sad state of affairs in a way because often you win games in the morning and you're like, I want to chill and I just want to enjoy the fact I won that game, and then you got to play again in a couple of hours. And sometimes, I mean, I played a tournament in Hungary the other day.
Yes.
And I played a game in the morning. It lasted for 5 hours. I probably should have offered a draw earlier, so I had a bit of energy left. I then played the tail ender in the final in the next game in the afternoon, and I lost that game. And I think it was partly because I was worn out from the. What is the time control for the tournaments that you're running?
Our first two tournaments were 60 plus 30, but the problem with that is that based on FIDE rules, I think after a certain rating from FIDE, then you have to sort of play 90 plus 30.
Right,
Uh,
right.
and actually we sort of got this feedback that some players actually would prefer a 90 plus 30. So for this one, this is the first one that we've turned it into 90 plus 30, and we added a third day. So on Friday, sort of it starts off with the open tournament, and
Right.
then we have 2 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday, which is still quite a tough schedule. But I think just based on the demographic of players who play, I don't think if you do it any other way, like so many people can't attend. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
how.
yeah. So is it 90 plus 30? Then you get extra time on move
No, so
40?
there's
Right.
no control. It's just 90 plus 30.
Because I think with 2 games in a day, I actually think it's better that way because I think then the game's too long. Because when I played the
Mm,
South Wales tournament, I think I mentioned you before we started the broadcast,
yes,
um, and there's a guy called Mike Waddington who in one of the double round days he played like a 6 hour game against Jose
uh,
Camacho Colados in the
yes,
morning game, and he managed to draw. And then he played like a 5 or 6 hour game in the afternoon games against Liv
that's
Smith. It's
wow.
absolutely brutal. And he won that game. So he got 1.5 out of 2. So he got really good results. But to me, that's not enjoyable. Like partly you play chess because you enjoy it. If you're
Sure.
playing for 10 hours in one day, that to me is not enjoyable. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I don't actually enjoy two rank a game days in general, but sometimes you do enjoy them in a sense if you lose a game in the morning, it's actually good to have that game in the afternoon where you can
Something to
bounce
bounce
back.
back. Yeah,
When you
yeah,
can bounce back. I mean, there's nothing worse than obviously losing a game and then you're brooding about it all until the next day. If you win in the afternoon, you almost forget about that game that you lost in the
sure.
morning. So yeah, so basically, it's very kind of you to invite me to your tournament. Can I just ask you a couple of questions about the tournament?
Absolutely.
Firstly, has it been a lot of work to put together in terms of do you get a lot of emails? Do you have to have a
Uh,
lot of contact with people and so on?
yes, yes. I mean, let just sort of briefly let me tell you how this whole thing came along. Basically, like 2 years ago, I became the sort of president of the Sussex University Chess Club, and that's around maybe a year before that. I had actually started like playing chess competitively. So I was sort of one of those people who got back into chess around the pandemic, not necessarily related to Queen's Gambit, but just sort of free time, what to do. Oh, like this sounds like something to do. And like I think I'm one of those people that sometimes sort of gets obsessed into something, and I think chess is one of those things that you can
Mm.
really get obsessed with. So yeah, I started firstly online and whatnot, and once I became the president, for the first year we sort of did we play in the Sussex League, so we had those sort of competitive games. But then I thought, well, you know, some of our players couldn't for I don't play for the well, let's some sort of an income for the club, so we can sort of cover these sort of things. And that's because actually the funding that we get from the university, unfortunately, in terms of cash, is only £50 per term, which just
Right.
doesn't cover anything.
Mm.
So yeah, and that's how these came to play. And the first one was in October, and that was just a congress. The second one, again, it was a congress, but the third one, I was like, okay, those went quite well, and we had well attended congresses. So we were like, okay, let's do this trifecta of competitive, professional, and educational chess. And yeah, it's been quite a lot of work along with my sort of studies. But yeah,
Right.
it's been fun, and I feel like just the chess community actually is such a nice community that, like, if you need help, then they connect you to someone else if they can't help you. So yeah, it's been a fun time,
Mm.
and I
Absolutely.
don't think I can sort of quite breathe out until you guys start your first round and you start your clock, and then I'm like, okay, this
Yeah.
is now on the players. But yeah,
Yeah.
until then, it will be
Yeah,
quite
I
a
mean, I was watching a Netflix documentary last night about food. It's like food
right.
stalls in New York, right? And this woman was saying, "Yeah, I love feeding people," and this other guy was saying, similar things. I love to feed people. It's a little bit like that, I guess, with being an organizer. You love to feed people some chess, right? You're
Yes.
feeding them chess. So, I mean, I haven't really done much organization myself, to be honest, other than a brief period when I was younger. I was captain of a London League team
Right.
for Charlton, and you had to ring people up and stuff like that, and that was quite awkward at times. This when I was in my teenage years, but I think in
Mm.
general, chess players, I mean, often treat arbiters and organisers in quite a negative way and an unappreciated way, I would say. I do think there are some organisers that aren't that nice. Yeah, I
Mm.
played tournaments recently where you feel like you're like a second class citizen because you're not a super GM. You're not getting conditions like some of the
Right.
players are. And so in some tournaments, now the trend is to give conditions to streamers.
Yes.
So obviously, I'm a lower rated GM now. My rating's now in danger of going below 2,400. I'm sure at Brighton that will be my, sub 2,300 breakthrough, sub 2,400 breakthrough.
No, no, Danny. No, no, no.
But from an organizational point of view, it's actually better to have older GMs possibly because we're
Sure.
we're possibly vulnerable to some of these kids. I mean, I was coaching this kid yesterday. I won't name names, but it's from India, right? And I'd never coached him before, and I said to him at the end, he's a nice kid, right?
Is
And
he
very
titled yet or
no,
not?
no, he's only about 2,000 on lead chess.
Fun.
Very nice kid. And I said to him at the end, I said, how many hours a day do you spend on chess, right? Sorry, no, I said how many hours do you spend on chess? And he goes 8 to 9 hours, right? Or sometimes 10. And I said, wow, that's really impressive. 8 to 9 hours a month. Sorry, hours a week, right? 8 to 9 hours a week. I said, right? I'm ruining this story. There's a bumbling it, right? And he said, no, no, no. I mean 8 to 9 hours a day. This kid's
Wow.
12, right?
Wow.
So this is what you're competing with as an older player. You're often playing against these kids who are just doing chess all day, every day, right? And to be honest, I think that's also an example why in England, we've fallen behind as a chess nation because there's very few juniors who are doing that amount of chess. Whereas in India, it's a massive deal to get good at chess because if you get good at chess, you get backing from the government, you get sponsorship, you could potentially get sponsorship. You get to fly around the world. People like Pragananda, Gukesh, they're living a life, right? And their
Mhm.
families are now in a. I don't think they come from like poor backgrounds. I think Gukesh's families, they're quite
No,
educated
I
doctors and
think
stuff like that.
some of these players, I think perhaps except Aravind, actually come from quite quite wealthy families. So
Yeah.
I think like Gukesh's family, his dad like is an ear nose throat surgeon or something. So
Yeah, but I
yeah,
don't think they're like super rich. So it's
yeah,
quite
sure.
expensive for them to travel around the world and obviously
Yes.
pay for anything like coaching or chess books and stuff like that. So, all that kind of now I've gone off on a tangent. I've forgotten why I started talking about that. This is the problem when you get older, your memory starts to go, right? Your short-term memory collapses. But one of the players playing in the tournament, I think there's like a mixture of older players. I know Peter Large is in there, who's like one of the older.
Yes.
He's always boasting about how many tournaments he's won on Twitter, but most
And
of the,
of course, Peter won both the first and the second edition of the Open Sussex University. So we are very glad to have him
no, he's a
now.
good player. He's a good player, Peter, especially for an older player. He's an IM, but I think he probably would have become GM if it hadn't been for the fact that obviously he had a full-time career. I think he was working as a
Yes,
barrister. He's
yes,
now retired, so he's got more time to devote to chess. So his chess level's probably gone up compared to say 10 years ago. Uh, which is not typical of older players. So the fact that you've got
sure.
that free time is obviously beneficial. There's also younger players, and I know Supratit Banerjee is one of the players, right?
Yes, he will be playing. Yeah, and obviously he's one of the very promising up and coming England juniors. So, and I
Mm,
think yesterday or 2 days ago, he had a match against David Howell
that's
in
right.
like the kids versus stars. I don't know what was the results,
I
but
think David drew with Supratit, and it was a simul where David was playing four
yeah,
juniors at the same time. I think they
that's right.
were there were two boys and two girls, and
Yes,
it seems a bit sexist because the two girls lost and two boys drew, right?
right.
But I think Bod Hannah was one of the girls. But they're,
All
they're
right.
all they're all quite close games. I could be wrong about the result actually. You'd have to look that up. I mean, I'm just going off what I saw when I was watching it
Sure,
briefly on
sure.
YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we mentioned these Indian superstars, and someone like a Suprata is probably one of England's best hopes in terms of probably does a lot of hours on chess per day. So therefore, potentially he could improve. As far as the tournament's concerned, Hooman. So I'm
Hmm.
terrible at names. So, it's just as
Yeah,
well
that's
your
okay.
name is. Yeah, I mean, I was actually thinking of organising a tour myself, but I think it's a lot of work to actually put it together. And obviously,
I saw your on your YouTube channel. You were mentioning that like you're sort of thinking of organizing this rapid tournament, isn't that right?
yeah, but the problem
Yeah.
is that I contacted the ECF about potential sponsorship, and they said to me, we only support. There's like I can't remember exactly, but there's kind of an organisation that supports tournaments, and they said that. They basically yeah, they only support like normal tournaments, right? Because obviously
Oh,
that
right.
that promotes juniors to improve and so on, right?
Sure.
So they weren't interested in pumping any money into a rapid play. I said, like I want to do this rapid play, right? Come on, man,
Yes,
come on. I wasn't going to play it myself because I honestly believe
sure.
if you're an organizer, I don't really think you should play. I think sometimes,
No. I mean, I think there are just so many things going around the tournament that, like, yeah, it just doesn't work. I mean, if there is one player who's been like forced by or something, then maybe like you could play them. But
yeah,
like,
sure.
yeah, it just doesn't work. No.
So as far as sponsorship, like tournaments going for, have you got any ambitions to potentially put together like maybe a bigger tournament or maybe bring a British champion? I know the British Championship. Here's a quiz question. Which
Yes.
year was the British Chess Championships in Brighton? I know it was in Hove in '97. Which year was the British Chess Championships in Brighton?
I think I actually had a look at this. Uh, I either want to say 1986 or 1991 or 1992, something like that. I think there was one other one in the 90s in Brighton, or I might be
Right.
totally.
Yeah, yeah. I believe there's one in '97, but that was in Hove, so not technically in Brighton. I could be
Oh,
wrong.
so the
Mm.
1991 wasn't in Brighton. Okay.
I think
Then,
91 might have been, I'm not sure on this myself, but I think 91 might have been either Eastbourne or possibly Plaskett won it or 1990.
all right.
Because I'm a bit shady on the details because 96 was the first British Chess Championships I played in Nottingham. But I believe 1984 was won by Tony Miles, and it was in Brighton. That was the only one that
Okay.
Tony Miles won. He's no longer with us. Actually, I think he died the same year you were born. Actually, around about 2002.
Wow.
So,
Amazing.
but okay. So let's. I
And
don't
of
want to keep.
course, I mean, his fame, like his famous game that I know is the E4 A6 against Karpov, where Karpov
That's
sort
right.
of,
Yeah, yeah. Because I was
yeah,
mentioning this to this pupil yesterday because he's like a fan of Karpov, like his Lichess,
yeah,
like So, so he was like a fan of Karpov. So I mentioned this game. It's like A6, because he had like a blitz game where his opponent played B6 and B6 and A6. I think that's the St George's defense, and it was played by Mike Basman. It was created
yes,
by
that's right.
Mike Basman, who's again sadly no longer with us. But yeah, he beat Tony Miles generally had a board record against Karpov, and Karpov would crush him. But in that game, it was played, I believe, in Bath in 1973 in the
Right.
European Team Championships, either 1973 or 1974. And Tony Miles managed to win. Yeah, so that was a famous example for English chess. But I'm looking forward to this. So one thing I thought was quite interesting actually was just wanted to mention towards the end of this interview because I don't want to keep you too long because I'm sure you're a busy man. Right. One of the things I wanted to mention was that as I am as well, I've got Wimbledon coming up, the women and ladies finals coming up on the TV in a few
Oh,
months.
yes.
By the way, what do you study at university, Hooman?
So I'm a medical student. I'll be going into my fifth year of studies next year, and
Mm.
hopefully next August, yeah, I'll
So
be
you
able
could
to
become
fully.
a doctor, right?
Yes, yes,
So what you should do when
that's
you're a
sort.
doctor, you say, look, what you'll have is you keep the same people will keep coming back, hypochondriacs, right? The worried well. And then you say, look,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with you. It's just all in your mind, right? That's what I do for Dr. Gormali. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't have cancer. You don't have heart disease. You're not dying. It's all in your mind, right? Get out of my surgery. I've got stuff to do, right?
I mean that's an approach that like I cannot quite condone that. May-
But it would make for a more interesting doctor, right? Just doctor,
sure, sure.
doctor annoyed, yeah.
There might be some fitness to practice problems with that, but
A lot of it's
yeah.
psychological, though. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
sure.
Anyway, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, just to sort of wrap it up, and
mm,
also I wanted to as I'm very thankful that you invited me for this interview.
sure, sure.
So I thought you could choose a referral code for your subscribers, so they can register for the sort of the
Hang on.
open congress. So
Hang on.
it's up to you, whichever you choose. Then the all players who sort of listen to this interview can put
Right.
it on the registration form, which will be linked to
Yeah,
this video.
I could try that, but obviously I'm not sure how referral codes work, so you probably have to run me through the process. But I will,
Sure.
yeah, I'll definitely have a think about that. I mean, what I could do, yeah, one of the things, sorry, I wanted to mention, I just went off on a tangent about the doctor thing,
Yes.
but yeah, so basically, I was reading recently that there's like obviously to get down to Brighton, if you're living in North East, so currently I live in Northumberland, you have to go down you have to alight at King's Cross, you get off at King's Cross station typically, and then
Yes.
and then you go via probably the tube down to somewhere like London Bridge, and then get a
Either London Bridge or London Victoria. Both come
London
down to
Victoria,
Brighton.
go down to Brighton. Yeah. But now I'm reading that apparently there's this train company. I'm not sure which train company. You probably know better than I do. That apparently is going to run a service direct from from Brighton to Newcastle, and
Oh,
it would go via Guildford, so you won't have to get off at
and at London. Okay, that's pretty
London.
good.
That could be quite interesting as well.
Yeah,
That could be quite interesting. So. Yeah, so going forward, that would make it a lot easier to get from the, because obviously I always find it a bit stressful going through London because
sure.
you're carrying a heavy bags and you're going through the
Yes,
tube and you're bumping into people and you're worried about terrorism, people blowing themselves up and stuff like that. Being a paranoid hypochondriac type of person, right? you know. So when I'm there at the instead of giving me a fee, you should just give me like sort of like free surgeries, like what's the problem?
yeah,
Is there a problem with your, you got a dodgy mole there that looks a bit
yes.
suspicious. Yeah, we'll get you referred to the dermatologist, stuff like that. But yeah, I could possibly, at the end of this interview, thanks again, Hooman, for coming on. It's very interesting to read
No
about
worries.
organisers because, as I say, professional players, we tend to take organisers, arbiters, so on for granted. But, they are the lifeblood of chess tournaments. Without organisers, we wouldn't be able to bum around and beat chess bums and have this lazy lifestyle, this sort of like, you know, of doing this creative stuff. So that's a really good thing. What I wanted to try and do was share screen now and potentially
Okay.
play this trailer.
Yeah, that would be great.
Let me just see if I can play this trailer. Okay. Very quickly. So, okay, I'm going to share screen. Share. Okay, cool. Right. So let's press play.
Maybe. Oh, I don't think it's quite working as it's supposed to. Shall we pause it?
Oh, sorry. Was that not working correctly?
No, I think
Okay, I'll stop
firstly
sharing.
for me the voice is not quite working.
Mm,
Uh, but I mean you have it, so we can just link it to the
sure,
YouTube
sure.
video, and yeah,
I'll do that.
and
I'll put a link down below to the. Have you got a website? Is there a specific website that people can go
yeah,
to?
yes. So we have our Twitter where we put all
Mm.
the information and everything over there, and also just people can email us, contact us over
X, isn't
there.
it? It's
Yeah.
no longer called Twitter, by the way. It's called X. So
Yes,
just
X. That's right. That's right.
yeah. So
Uh,
ask Rock, all that
af-
kind of stuff. Yeah.
After Mosque, but the whole thing. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
And just one last thing
yeah. Mm.
to say about the whole event. Obviously, we talked a bit about the closed IM tournament and the Congress, which starts from 29th of August till
Mm.
31st of August, 5 rounds, 90 plus 30, ECF and FIDE rated. And on 28th and 29th, so that's on Thursday and Friday, you're running a 2-day summer school at the medical school, actually. So the venue is the Brighton and Sussex Medical School. And this is in association with Sussex Junior Chess,
Right.
which have
Okay.
been running these training days for years, I think 20 years at least.
Sure.
And so that's that. And we are very proud that we are also running a master class led by international master Thomas Randall. And he'll
Right.
be sort of leading the master class for sort of juniors, anywhere rating from 1950 CF to 2150. They could come, and it's a 2-day master class, or they could register for one. So the link, I will send that link to you as well, and people can
Cool.
go check
That'd
that
be
out.
brilliant. That'd be
So
brilliant.
yeah,
Mm. So yeah, thanks a lot. So I think is it Jonathan Tuck is involved with Sussex Junior Chess, possibly.
yes, Jonathan Talk is the president, and he's been a great help with sort of with the whole running of these events, especially the summer school. And I
Mm.
really have to shout out a big shout out to Lance Leslie Smith. He's an arbiter. He's the arbiter for Mind Sports.
That's
He hasn't he's not associated with this event, but he's been helping us with finding players, and I really have to thank him for that.
okay.
So,
Yes.
yeah,
Well, thanks a lot, Hugh, for coming on. Just to wrap it up, just to mention one last thing. I think the last time I played
sure,
Brighton was many years ago.
sure.
Sean Hewitt ran some tournaments there. So Sean Hewitt was an organizer back in the day
Right.
from the Leicestershire area, also an arbiter, and he would run E2, E4 events. And I think
Yes.
yeah. He actually did organise one or two tournaments in Brighton, and I played in them, and I quite enjoyed playing them. And during the rounds, you'd actually go onto the pier and get a bit of food. I think your
Yeah.
tournaments are in the university, right? So it's a bit further away from the town.
Yes, they are in the university, but the first round of the IM tournament will be at the Queen's Hotel in the Brighton and Hove Club because that's the other club that are
Mm.
helping us in this event. So
So,
that's
and from the university, it's about a 20-minute bus ride into the Brighton town centre, right?
into the center. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Or people could get the sort of the train, so you can come to Brighton Station and then take a 5 minute train to Falmer Station, where that's where the tournament is.
Ah,
So
brilliant.
that's
Yeah, brilliant. And yeah, so this Sean Hewitt basically started his trend. I think he started his trend for 2 rounds a day. So we know who to blame for 2 round a day
all right.
tournaments, which continues to this day. And I said to somebody the other day, I think it was maybe Nick Perk, because I do the commentary with a British, and I said
Yes.
it's only a matter of time before they make the British Championships 2 rounds a day to save money. They don't really care about the players. It's all about saving money, saving money. So, sorry, there's one other thing. Yeah, did you think just before we go, did you try to get any sponsors?
Yes.
Did you have any luck bringing any sponsors into the tournament?
Yes. So we are very proud to have been sponsored by Nocti AI, who are
Mm.
an educational chess platform, and you can go there and basically use their AI bot, which sort of adjusts to your rating and to your strength to sort of improve your chess. So they'll
Wow,
be giving
wow.
free premium memberships to the masterclass students as well as prizes. So actually, I was talking to one
Mm.
of the people at Nocti, and they're a company in Sweden, and apparently in Sweden, so they've sponsored a couple of tournaments over there, and they give like premium memberships to the biggest upset of the round in the Congress. So I think that's quite an interesting concept,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, so they'll be doing that
Might
for
encourage people to
well.
use AI bots during the round, just to get like.
Well, no, I can assure you we have great arbiter Chris Howell, and
Mm.
he'll be monitoring
I
that.
know, Chris, mentioned earlier
Yes.
that I used to run a league back in the day, right? And one of first person to bring me into the Kent team, I first played for the Kent second team was Chris Howe.
Oh
So
yes.
yeah, so I never, I was just an unknown junior at that time, and he brought me into the team. But yeah, thanks a lot, Hooman. That was a brilliant interview, mate. And hopefully, I think we'll get about 500 views. And I'll link all that stuff down below, and also link that sponsor, the link to their website as well. Would probably be a good idea as well. If you send me the link to that sponsor.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very
Okay,
much, Danny, for
thank
having
you,
me.
mate. All right,
Thank you.
okay,
Cheers.
I'll stop recording now.
Yeah.